I will start with a brief overview of the procedural background of this evaluation. On 18 May 2023, the Commission sent you a request for submission of the 5-year declaration of assets and personal interests, and on 25 May, you submitted your 5-year declaration. The Commission also asked candidates to voluntarily complete and submit an ethics questionnaire, and you did so also on 25 May. The Commission sent you 3 rounds of questions on 16 June, 13 June, and 12 July, respectively. You were asked a total number of 11 questions, including 35 subparts, and 11 of the questions included the request for further documentation. According to Article 3, Paragraph 4 of the evaluation rules of the Commission, a candidate may not provide information, documents, or other materials during the hearing if the Commission requested these earlier and the candidate did not provide them within the time specified, unless, of course, the candidate provides sufficient justification. Members of the Commission will now start with asking you questions, and Tatjana Raducanu will start with asking questions. We will try to keep our questions short and to the point, and we ask that your answers be short and to the point as well. Tatjana, you have the floor.
Greetings, Madam Popescu. Over 2012-2015, you were working as a prosecutor, and you were a subject of declaration as per Article 4 of the Law Number 1264 on the Declaration and Control of Income and Property. The questions will have to do with your bank accounts, with loans, and with real estate. As regards the bank accounts, according to Article 4 of the aforementioned law, the declarants are required to declare all their financial assets, bank accounts, investment funds, other documents incorporating property rights. And over 2012-2015, you had 3 bank accounts in your name. 2 of them you did not declare at all, and 1 of them you only declared in 2013. You also did not declare 5 active bank accounts in your husband's name. On your first bank account, opened in 2008, no transactions were carried out since 2009. On your second bank account, opened in 2011, no transactions have taken place since 2011. On your third bank account, opened in 2012, there was only this account was declared only in your 2013 annual declaration, but not in your 2014-2015 annual declarations. We provided you with a table with an overview of these bank accounts. You can have a look at that. In your answers to the Commission, you explained that over 2012-2015, you declared in your declarations the amounts of the salary received by you as a prosecutor and by your husband. Your personal bank accounts were not declared because you had the opinion, which you found out later was erroneous, that by declaring the salary amounts transferred to your bank account, the requirements regarding the declaration of assets were fully met. You also informed the Commission that at the time of filling out the annual declarations, a new declaration form was used, and that there was no consistent practice across the prosecution bodies on how to fill out those forms. As a consequence, you did not insert information about all active bank accounts. With regards to your husband's bank accounts, you explained that you did not declare them because you were not aware of all the relevant details about those accounts, possibly because they were the salary accounts of your husband. You declared your husband's salary in your annual declarations. Your husband, who was also a subject of declaration, declared in his declarations his salary and the bank accounts related to the salary and to bank loans. In the written answers to the Commission, you argued that, according to your interpretation of the relevant legal framework, those bank accounts were, legally speaking, not your property, but the property of the bank. As regards the salaries, in your opinion, it is for the employer to select a bank, and it is for the employee to receive a card from that bank. If a bank grants an application for a loan, the borrower enters into a loan agreement with a bank, and the bank opens, for that purpose, a bank account in the customer's name. You emphasize that the failure to declare the bank accounts did not result in hiding any amounts from the authorities, because all the funds that were transferred through those accounts had a legal destination in the form of a salary, loan, etc., and the funds were fully disclosed in your annual declarations. Over the period that you had the obligation to submit your annual declarations, your husband had 5 active bank accounts. 2 bank accounts opened in 2013 and 2014 were used for salary payments, and there were no suspicious transactions on those accounts. 1 bank account opened in 2011 was used only once in 2011 for a transaction of 500 euros. Another bank account was opened in 2013, but no transactions were recorded on that bank account. And a 3rd bank account was opened in 2015 and was used to pay back a loan received in that year. As regards the loans, according to Article 4, Paragraph 1, letter D of the law number 1264 of 2002, you had the obligation to declare the loans. According to Article 4, Paragraph 1, letter F, the declarants had the obligation to declare debt as debit, including unpaid taxes and fees, mortgages, guarantees issued for the benefit of third parties, loans and credits. You and your husband take out 2 loans. One in 2007, was contracted in 2007, and another one in 2012, which were sometimes declared by you in your 2012-2015 annual declarations and sometimes not. In 2007, a loan of 360,000 Moldovan lei was taken from a Moldovan bank due in 2017. This loan was taken out by one of your husband's close family members before you and your husband got married in 2008. The purpose of the loan was to renovate an apartment in Chișinău municipality, of which your husband was a co-owner with his family and a co-debtor of that loan. The loan was paid back in 2017 by your husband's close family member, who, according to you, was the main borrower of that loan. The loan was not declared in your annual declarations for 2012, 2013, and 2014. You explained to the Commission that initially you were not aware of that loan. Later, when you found out about it, after you married your husband in 2008. You were, as you mentioned in your written answers to the Commission, erroneously of the opinion that because they did not have the status of borrower of that given loan, you did not have the obligation to declare it. You also indicated that the loan was declared by your husband in his annual declarations for the years 2012-2015. And you've argued that no information was therefore hidden from the authorities. In 2015, you corrected this issue and you included the loan in your annual declaration for that year. In 2012, a loan of 30,000 Moldovan lei was taken from a Moldovan bank with a due date in 2015. This loan was taken out by a family member of your husband, and your husband was the guarantor of that loan. The loan was not declared in your annual declarations for 2012, 2013, and 2014. And again, you stated that you erroneously thought that you did not have to declare that loan because you did not have the status of borrower of the loan. The loan was declared by your husband in his annual declarations for the years 2012-2015. You argue, therefore, that no information was thus hidden from the authorities. In 2015, you corrected that issue and included that loan in your annual declaration for that year. With regards to real estate, according to Article 4, Paragraph 1, letter B of the aforementioned Law 1264 of 2002, you had the obligation to declare real estate of all types owned by you or in the possession of the declarant or family members. According to the information available to the Commission, your husband and his family were the co-owners of an apartment in Chisinau municipality starting with 2004 as a result of privatization. In your annual declarations for 2012-2014, you did not disclose that apartment as an asset owned by your husband, but you did disclose it in your 2015 annual declaration. In your answers to the Commission, you explained that the failure to disclose the apartment in your annual declarations for 2012-2014 was the result of you not being informed in detail by your husband about the assets he owned at that time. When you found out about the details of your husband's co-ownership of that apartment, you reflected it in your annual declaration for 2015. You also informed the Commission that your husband had declared that asset in his annual declarations for the years 2012-2014. Now I will ask you some questions. You worked as a prosecutor in the period 2012-2015 and were required to submit annual declarations pursuant to the law number 1264 of 2002 on the declaration and control of income and property of public officials. Correct? Correct. Also, your husband was required to submit annual declarations in that period, and he continues to be a subject of the annual declarations. Is that correct? Correct. Your husband is a judge to this day. Is that correct? Yes. According to Article 4, Paragraph 1 of the aforementioned law, the declarants are required to declare the financial assets. Is that correct? Correct. Over 2012-2015, you did not declare 3 active bank accounts in your name and 5 active bank accounts in the name of your husband. You only declared 1 bank account opened by you in 2012 in your 2013 annual declaration. Correct? That is correct. Indeed, I did not declare those bank accounts because of my interpretation, because of my incorrect interpretation of the law at the time, because it did leave some room for interpretation. And that version of the declaration was something new, and there was no consistent practice across the prosecution bodies on how to fill out those declarations. And following discussions with my colleagues, I realized that I understood that I did not have to disclose the bank accounts as long as the salary income is indicated in the declaration. That's what you thought at the time. That is correct. That's what I thought at the time. But later, I realized there was an omission on my behalf. And in your annual declarations for 2012-2015, you declared the salary amounts received by you and by your husband, but you did not declare the bank accounts that the salaries were going to. Is that correct? That is correct. I believed at the time and that the bank account, because the bank account, according to the rules, the bank accounts are the property of the bank. The bank is the one that opens the bank accounts in that instance and is managing it. But the money is the property of the individual. It's only later that I realized that I actually had to also disclose and indicate in the declaration the bank account. So, are you saying that you had an incorrect opinion about it? Yes, at that time it was not. It was an incorrect opinion of mine. You stated that you did not declare all the bank accounts, all your husband's bank accounts, because you did not know all the relevant details about those accounts. Is that correct? That is correct. Each of us was filling out the declarations on their own, but later, during the evaluation carried out by the preparing commission, as part of that endeavor, I realized that my husband declared those bank accounts for those years. It was only an omission on my behalf. I was not aware of those accounts, and I accept that is an omission on my behalf, and I should have disclosed my husband's bank accounts in my income declarations. But you were spouses. Weren't you filling out together the declarations to see what the other one is writing in? No, we did this separately. We would fill out the declaration separately. We had some brief discussions about it, but it was just a mission of mine. In your written answers to the Commission, you stated that according to your interpretation of the law, the bank accounts for the salaries and deposits are, legally speaking, not your property, but the property of the bank. Do you continue to insist on this? Yes, I continue to believe that they are the property of the bank. However, I also understand that at the time I should have reported them in the income declaration. Later, in 2014, 2015, more media discussion was around. There was more discussion and collaboration with between the prosecution and the institution responsible of handling these declarations. So there were more meetings at the workplace and discussions with the colleagues, and following that I realized I didn't do things right, and many other people at the prosecution offices, many other prosecutors had the same approach and did not initially report those bank accounts, but following the awareness-raising meetings, we realized we were not right and we started declaring those accounts. So you admit that it was a mistake, and that yes, I admit that, and that I interpreted the law back then in that way. Now, looking back, did you change your view on this? Certainly. Even back then, in around 2015, I realized what my mistake was and that I should have done things differently. And now, do you believe that you should have declared them? Certainly, obviously. Is there anything that you would like to add or clarify regarding this matter around the bank accounts? I would like to mention that as far as my bank accounts are concerned, as I said, I did not know, and I just did not interpret the law the right way, and there was no consistent approach across the prosecution bodies and how we were supposed to fill out the new version of the declaration. As far as my husband's bank accounts are concerned, my husband declared his accounts, and I had no intention whatsoever to hide anything away. There were no hidden transactions, and if there was any transaction, then the bank would have noticed them. Fine, let's move on to the loans. According to Article 4, Paragraph 1, letter D and F of the law number 1264 of 2002, declarants were required to declare loans and guarantees issued for the benefit of third parties of the declarant or members of the declarant's family. Correct? So you and your husband were party to two loans, 360,000 lei in 2007, 2012, 30,000 lei. Is that correct? I have to clarify certain things in this regard. In 2007, a loan was contracted by the mother of my future husband at that time. And obviously, I was not concerned in that loan. I was not even his wife yet at that moment. And the debtor was the mother of my future husband at that time. In 2012, there was a different loan taken by the uncle of my husband. And my husband there was the guarantor of that loan. And yet again, I was not a concerned party in that loan. But you see, the provision is that it's not only about your debt, but the debt of your family members. So that's what is there. In your 2012, 2013, 2014 declarations, you did not declare those loans. And in 2015, you did declare those loans. Is that correct? Yes. And that considering that according to the contract, my husband did not have the status of debtor. And at the time, I believed that I thought that I didn't have to declare it. But my husband, as then I saw in his declarations, he did declare those loans. Later, I realized that in 2014, 2015, I realized that I should have disclosed those loans, given that, as I said, there were discussions between the Integrity Center at the time, the prosecution bodies, there were discussions about that. So at that point, I realized that that's something that I should have done. Your husband declared both loans in all his declarations for 2012 all the way to 2015, right? Yes. You did not declare the 2007 loan regarding the family apartment of the apartment of your husband's family in 2012, 2013, and 2014 because initially you were not even aware of the existence of that loan. Is that correct? That is correct. I was not aware of it initially, but then out of discussions, I found out about it. But I believed erroneously again that I didn't have to declare it. Only later in 2015 I declared it. But when did you find out about it? You were married since 2008, yes, but you didn't find out about it in 2008? No. In 2008 we got married, but I did not find out about it immediately at that point. I can't remember very well the year when I found out about it, but when I did, I thought at that time that I did not have to declare it, given that my husband was not the one who borrowed it, who was the debtor of that loan. But then I reviewed my position, my opinion, because and thanks to the consistent approach at institutional level regarding regarding the way in which the declarations have to be filled out. So do you confirm that this, yes, is a mistake on my behalf? I admit that this is my omission. And what made you not declare it back then? That it was not clear for you? You couldn't interpret the law the right way? That's right. The law, the way it was worded, left some room for interpretation. And we've had a lot of some discussions at the prosecution's office with our colleagues. And my conclusion at the time was that as long as the husband is not a debtor, he didn't have to declare it. But later, in 2014 or 2015, when all those discussions began with regards to how to fill out those income declarations, at that time, it started to become clearer how one should fill out that income declaration, and I realized that it was an inadvertent omission on my behalf, and I should have declared. So there was nothing hidden. What is more, those loans were taken under legal terms, and my husband declared them. They were publicly known of. But do you now understand that the guarantor is also supposed, when somebody has a position of guarantor, that also has to be declared because that's a real debt? Yes. And now, what is your opinion? Do you think that you should have declared all those loans back then? Yes, obviously. I believe that was an omission that I am accountable for. I'm ready to take accountability for. And I realized this mistake back in 2015 because in the 2015 declaration, I declared them already. Is there anything else that you would like to add regarding the loans? No, except that I would like to underscore I had no hidden intention, all the more so since my husband did declare those loans in his declarations for those years. With regards to real estate, according to Article 4, Paragraph 1, Letter B of the Law Number 1264 of 2002, the declarants are required to declare movable and immovable goods of all types owned with right of use of use residence superficies or in the possession of the declarant or his or her family members. Is that correct? Were you aware of the provision? Yes. Now, your husband, together with his family, they are the co-owners of an apartment in Chisinau municipality since 2004, following privatization. Is that correct? Yes. You did not disclose this apartment in your annual declarations for 2012-2014. For that period, 2012, 2013, 2014, but you did disclose it in your 2015 annual declaration. Is that correct? Yes. You explained that you did not disclose that apartment because you were not thoroughly informed about by your husband about the real estate situation. Yes, I knew that when we got married, I knew that was the apartment of my husband's parents. I did not know the details behind how that apartment was purchased. I had no idea it had been privatized and that my husband was a concerned party in the privatization endeavor. At that time, we had other priorities. We were living at my parents' place, but somehow at a later point in a discussion that we had, I found out, and then much later, I did declare that apartment. And in that period, you did not live in that apartment? No. So you lived in your parents' house with your parents? Yes. Immediately after we got married, we moved in my parents' apartment. You explained that you did not that you included it. You explained that you included it in your annual declaration for 2015 because it's at the time that you had found out about the details of your husband's co-ownership of that apartment. Is that correct? Yes. Do you admit now that it was a mistake on your behalf? Yes. I assume accountability for that decision. I should have been thorough and I should have asked and I should have been aware of these details. So you admit that you should have declared it? Yes, obviously. Starting with 2012, yes. Starting with my first declaration. Is there anything that you would like to add and clarify with regards to real estate? Yes, I would like to underscore that I did not live in that apartment, not even for a day. I knew it belonged to the parents of my husband, but I was not aware initially about the details as to how it was purchased or how it was acquired, how they became the owners of it. Later, when I found out during a discussion, I realized that it was an omission of mine. I should have declared it and didn't. That's why in 2015, I did disclose it in the 2015 annual declaration. Okay, thank you.
Continue with two other issues I would like to raise with you, and the first of those relates to an undeclared cash saving of €8,000 in the year 2020. Let me first read out the facts to you, and then I will come to some questions. So on the 4th of August 2020, you and your husband purchased a house of 109.2 square meters in Chisinau municipality. On the same date, a mortgage contract was entered into with a Moldovan bank for 800,000 lei. The cadastral value of the property was 941,000 lei, roughly about 47,000 euros. Both your husband in his annual declaration and you in your declarations to the Commission declared the value of the property as 48,000 euros. You provided a copy of the sale purchase contract for the house, a valuation report for the house, and other documents related to this transaction. You explained that the sources of funds for the purchase of the house were the mortgage of 800,000 lei and an additional 8,000 euros from savings from your and your husband's salaries. After the purchase of the property, you and your husband spent additional sources for a number of improvements and repairs to the house between 2020 and 2023. You explained that although the house was habitable, a number of repairs were required, some of which were done by yourself and your husband with the help of some family members. You estimated the total cost of repairs as about 210,000 lei, and you declared the different figures for each of the years since 2020 to 2023. The costs relating to these repairs, according to you, were paid out of the family budget. Your husband was required to submit an annual declaration for the year 2019. In his declaration, to be submitted in March 2020, 5 months before the purchase of the house, he did not declare any cash savings. According to Article 4, Paragraph 1, little d of Law number 133/2016, he was obliged to declare cash in national currency or foreign currency that exceeds the value of 15 average salaries in the economy and that is not subject to deposits in financial institutions. According to the government decision number 678 of 2019, the average annual salary in the economy was 7,953 lei, and so the sum of 15 average salaries amounted to 119,295 lei. The amount of the savings that you claim were used towards the purchase of the house of 8,000 euros amounts to a total figure of 157,920 lei. In response to a question by the Commission, you stated that although you did not remember the exact amount of cash savings at the time, your cash savings were certainly, and I quote, certainly not more than 100,000 lei, end of quote. At the same time, you stated that according to your husband, the savings were less than the 190,295 lei that was below the government decision's threshold. Now I come to some questions for you, and hopefully the first ones can be answered with a yes or no, and after that we'll come to some further explanations. So the first question is, on 4 August 2020, you and your husband purchased a house of 109.2 square meters in Chisinau for the price of 48,000 euros. Is that correct?
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And at the same date, you took out a mortgage for the house for 800,000 lei.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And the house was purchased with the mortgage of 800,000 lei, so around 40,000 euros, and the additional 8,000 euros which were coming from savings from you and your husband. Is that correct?
Exactly.
That's true.
Okay. So on 4 August 2020, when you purchased the house, you and your husband had cash savings in the total amount of 8,000 euros.
Da, corect.
True.
So, but then when your husband submitted his annual declaration for 2019 in March, so 4 or 5 months before, he did not declare any cash savings. That is correct?
Da, este corect.
That's correct, and I would like to give a clarification here. As I mentioned in my round one answers, I think there was more than 100,000, but it was under the threshold that you mentioned. Otherwise, that amount would have been declared by my husband. So, subsequently, in 4 months before or until the purchase, we tried to focus on saving money because we had that purpose and we were searching for real estate. So we really focused on saving money.
So basically, in a period of 4 months, you were able to increase the savings from roughly about 120,000 lei to almost 160,000 lei. Is that correct?
Da, era
Yes. There was an approximately difference of 38 to 40,000 lei, but at that time I was working for the Council of Europe as a project coordinator. My husband is and was a judge. We were able to save money from our salaries, especially since we were living with our parents, so that we had less expenses. So 4 months were enough to save that amount of money in order to place a down payment for the purchase of real estate.
Okay, thank you. Is there anything else you would like to add to this particular issue?
vreau doar să atrag
I would like to draw attention to the fact that when we purchased the real estate, we hired an agency which performed the valuation of that real estate, and the price was determined based on evaluation carried out by that agency. That's it.
Thank you. Then I'll come to the third issue for discussions with you today, the last issue, and that relates to what is called donations from your candidates, from your husband's parents in relation to the payback of a loan. And we discussed this loan already in the first set of questions. So the facts are the following. Your husband, together with his family, is the co-owner of the apartment of 55.6 square meters in Chisinau municipality, which was privatized in 2004. In 2007, as we already discussed, one of his close family members took out a loan of 360,000 lei for the period of 2007-2017 at an interest rate of 17% for the purpose of carrying out renovations for this apartment. According to you, the main borrower on that loan was one of your husband's close family members, and the rest of the family were co-debtors. The loan was paid back by this close family member, and you informed us, the Commission, that your husband did not incur any expenses in connection to this loan, and the loan was paid back in 2017. On 11th of July 2016, your husband took out a mortgage loan of 350,000 lei from a Moldovan bank for the period 2016 to 2032 at an interest rate of 12% for the very same apartment and also for the purpose of renovation. You informed the Commission that this loan was needed to renovate the apartment, which was in a deplorable condition as a result of the constant use and frequent flooding from the upstairs neighbor's apartment due to the poor conditions of the pipes. You also stated that your own children regularly stayed with their grandparents at the apartment and that you and your husband wanted to ensure a certain level of well-being for your parents-in-law. You consider this loan also as an investment in the apartment because of discussions about the apartments being left to your husband as an inheritance. According to information from Lara, in 2007, when the first loan was taken out for the apartments were sold for roughly about 31,000 euros at the time. And according to Lara, in 2016, when the second loan, your husband took out the loan for the apartment, such apartments were sold for about 28,000 euros. Again, some factual questions first and then some more details. My first question is, your husband is, together with his family, the co-owner of this apartment of 55 square meters.
Da, este corect.
That's true.
And in 2007, the family member did contract a loan of 360,000 lei for the renovation of that apartment, correct?
Yes, correct. It was the mother of my husband-to-be at that point contracted that loan.
And the loan was paid back by this close family member, and your husband did not incur any expenses in relation to this loan at the time.
Da, soțul meu, atât
Indeed, both my husband and myself did not incur any expenses, any financial contributions to repay that loan of 2007. We were young professionals at that time with very small salaries, but both my parents-in-law are doctors. They were working and having salaries, so they were financially able to repay that loan.
And in 2016, your husband took a loan and mortgage in relation to the same apartment for 350,000 lei, and also for the same purpose of renovation. Is that correct?
Da, exact.
Yes, exactly. At that time, my husband contracted the loan because by that time we had a stable financial capacity and we could contribute and help the parents-in-law. But by that time, my father-in-law was already retired and not working full-time. The mother-in-law, because of her, moved in with them, like the fathers-in-law, mother-in-law. So, and my daughter was staying a lot with them. That's why we decided to ensure some comfort level for them and the comfort for our child as well, as long as she was spending time there.
And what kind of renovations were made in the first period of, let's say, 2007 to 2017, and what kind of renovations were then taken up later on when your husband took the loan?
Așa, deci să fac diferența.
So do you want me to make a difference between first repairs and second? In 2007, I was not part of that repair work, but from what I understood, that was the first repairing of that apartment. For a long time, they had difficult neighbors living above them who were flooding them permanently. So for the first repairs, they did some improvement of the walls because there was mold all the time, and so then they had to paint and change the flooring, paint the ceiling, something of the furniture. I know that they also changed at that time. That's from what I heard in the discussions. But with the second round of repair, there were several problems because they were flooded again. During vacations, they were at the grandmother in the countryside, and they were flooded again during one of these vacations. So, and the damage was bigger. The electricity system was affected, so it had to be replaced. And since the walls were improved, like warmed up in a way from the inside during the second renovation, all of that had to be taken away and redone and repainted. And from what I understood, the piping was old, and there was a lot of leakage. And the tiles in the toilet and bathroom were affected, so all of that replaced. Then the doors, the furniture, some of the furniture needed replacement. Since the stove and the oven were electrical, they were also damaged. So that time they incurred a lot of expenses to replace furniture and equipment, various household equipment, and also they changed the windows.
Okay. Yeah. So in total, just over 700,000 lei was invested over all those years. I'm just comparing it with the value of the apartment. Was it really worth the investment, so to say, to put twice so much money into the renovations?
Da, prima dată.
Yes, first time, or actually they did not think that this flooding will happen again. And the first time, a lot was invested in repair. So as I was saying, the first time repairing the apartment, a lot of mold, it was a very cold apartment, it had to be warmed up and improved. The second time was just to give some extra level of comfort besides just the repairs needed as a result of the flooding and leakage from mold piping. So we needed to give some extra comfort to them, to the grandmother, and to the grandchildren who are coming to visit.
Okay. And did any of your husband family members financially contribute to the payback of the second loan after 2016?
Financially, his parents did not contribute at all because they were not having already any financial capacity to do that, but they were helping logistically, meaning that my husband works outside of Chisinau and I was on the job all the time. Every week we visited them with children, so we were giving them the money, and usually my mother-in-law was repaying. Since she's a doctor at the emergency hospital and the office of the bank was and is on Svatolceri Street, which is like very close to the hospital, and it was easy for her to just go and pay for repayment. So their contribution was to help us logistically make the payments, but not financially. We were the ones who incurred the payments for the second credit.
Okay, thank you. Is there anything else you would like to add or clarify in relation to this issue?
No.
No.
I'm looking around whether there are any questions from any of the colleagues. If that is not the case, then we come nearly to the end of our hearing, and I would like to give you now the opportunity to make a brief closing statement, so please go ahead.
I would like to thank you for your attention during the entire evaluation process, and I would like to appreciate actually the fact that I received very clear and precise questions which facilitated the answering for me. And I can only wish you a lot of success in all your activity that you are conducting as part of a pre-vetting commission. Thank you.
Much. With this, we come to the end of the hearing, and I thank you again for your answers in writing and also for your answers today during the hearing. The Commission will now withdraw for deliberations, and as much as possible, the Commission will strive at delivering a decision within a month after the date of this hearing. I hereby declare the hearing closed, and thank you again for being here with us today. Thank you.